once again to discuss things.
You ready to go ahead and get started?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I am Sid Pardue. Joining me today is Rasco's Modern Life. Hello, Rasco.
Hello.
That's a really Buffalo Bill out of Silence of the Lambs voice right there, or maybe the cockroach from Men in Black. Just either or. Anyway, what are we talking about today with while we continue our series on fan films?
Today we're talking about a Transformers fan film called Generation 1 Hero.
Yeah, weird titles lately.
Yeah. But I mean, they probably weren't allowed to put Transformers in it, were they?
I don't know. I didn't look at the background of this one at all. I just watched it like maybe an hour ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me just preface all this by saying I'm not a Transformers fan.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in the slightest. I watched one of the cartoons for maybe like half a season while I was growing up, and I think I had like 2 or 3 of the toys. That's about all I have with Transformers. I've watched the first Michael Bay movie and got my fill early on. And so, yeah, this isn't exactly something that's for me. As a Transformers fan, though, how did you like it?
So when it comes to me and Transformers, I am a big fan of just Transformers G1. And it's just because of the aesthetic of that show, and I don't know, there's just something kind of like charming about that old show, and it's not good, but it's really fun. Watch. So I have a kind of like an obsession with that when I was like a little kid. So yeah, it's pretty much me and Transformers all the way. So this was kind of interesting just because you had asked when we were talking about Transformers for a second, you were like, I wonder what a Transformers fan film looks like or something like that. And so then I looked it up and found, and I think it's really good.
I think it's fun. I think it's one of those things where it looks like more fun to have made than to watch, especially as someone who's not interested in the franchise at all.
Yeah.
Because I know vague things about the Transformers. Like, I know Starscream and Megatron are always kind of like got this rivalry.
Yeah.
That I've always found really odd, because I'm like, if I was, the leader of a group, and someone was always like, oh, well, when I'm leader, I'm going to do things differently. Like, I mean, if I were at work, and if I kept talking to my boss by telling my boss, oh, well, when I'm the boss, I'm going to do things differently around here, I'd fire my ass, right? Like, you wouldn't put up with that shit. And I don't know why Megatron puts up with Starscream. Maybe they explain that at some point, but I just found that really, really odd. And I guess it's accurately carried over to here, because I find it odd and kind of hilarious. Other stuff, I don't know, like, I thought it was fairly well made, all things considered. Like, the costumes look pretty good. I could definitely see people walking around in these at a, cosplay kind of thing for a convention. I don't think they look great on film, but some of the visual effects work, which I think is really, really good for a fan film, really helps sell them.
Mm-hmm.
Not crazy about the miniature use, especially with Bumblebee, because that's not the same thing, right? Like, I don't know anything about G1. Was Bumblebee like a bug?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, the Bumblebee costume doesn't look like the bug then, because, I mean, the bug that we see at the beginning is orange, and Bumblebee is yellow.
It's probably just like either color correction or just the paint they used wasn't quite the same. I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know. I found that really distracting though. Um, that really bothered me. I'm like, wait, that's Bumblebee, but it's orange. I don't know. It's not a big deal. I just generally wasn't crazy about the miniatures. They just you could tell they were miniatures, and that really kind of hurt it in my opinion. Like I don't know if there's a way to shoot it that made them look bigger than they are, but the way they shot them, they clearly looked like miniatures to me.
So I guess why I really like this because it's pretty much just an episode of the G1 cartoon, and this is how the G1 cartoon is. Pretty much, it's just like something happens, and then they all go on a mission, and then they fight, and then it's like it ends. So that's Transformers G1.
Mm-hmm.
So, so I like that. Like, it's not like they're trying to do like this more elaborate in terms of narrative, like story with Transformers and the G1 aesthetic. No, they're just trying to like recreate an episode. They're just trying to like make an episode of the show pretty much in live action, which is pretty cool. And so like all the music was cool, all, like the little like Autobot Decepticon logos when they pop up between sides. That's really cool because the show does that as well.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the miniatures, but it's more so that like when I know that how else are you going to do it and you do miniatures, like it would be really hard to not make that look like miniatures. Like
Mm-hmm.
and I think Starscream looks awesome. Like I had no idea how they managed to do Starscream flying around like he was. That was really cool. I also liked all the voice acting because like I know that you can't get everybody to sound exactly like they do in G1, but everybody sounded pretty much exactly how they needed to sound. And also, what was more important than that is that all the line delivery was exactly like a G1 cartoon.
Oh, okay. I don't want to sound too negative on this. There were things that I liked. Like I really liked the Star Trek reference. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
The ambulance is like, I'm an ambulance, not a cell phone or radio tower or whatever he said. That really made me laugh. Damn it, Optimus, I'm an ambulance, not a cell phone. That was really funny to me. And there were other things in this that I liked. Like I said, I think the effects are probably the thing that impressed me the most here because they're really well integrated. They feel like they're there. They don't feel like they were, green screened in. I think the effects make this look better than it really is, to be honest with you. And that's to the credit of Starscream. Like, Starscream looks more legit than Bumblebee in that opening scene.
No, yeah,
is
yeah.
the problem. Bumblebee looks like he lacks scale, so they have to scale Starscream. There's a tongue twister. They have to scale Starscream in and make him match the scale of Bumblebee, so it doesn't look even more awkward than it otherwise would.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes it makes sense how they got there. I still think that it was a bit of a mistake to I don't know like how you do it because they are in a desert, so they lack a sense of scale, but I don't know, maybe it's because they get up close and I can tell those aren't actually headlights, that's paint. Just things about it, it loses a sense of size, and that's the problem. I'm not sure. I've never worked with miniatures, but I know like there are ways to do stuff. I know that there are. I don't know how, but I know that there are ways to shoot them so that they look bigger than they are, and using force perspective, stuff like that to do it. And this, I don't feel like it did. Maybe it would have helped if they'd thrown a person in somehow and made them look smaller next to it, or maybe that would just compound the problem. I'm not sure.
Maybe, but I think that the issue with that is like, how do you have a person in like other scenes standing with the Autobots and stuff like that? Like, I imagine it was probably something that they didn't know how to do or something like that. Where like, how would you have a person and then the Autobots standing next to the character? Like, if it was like Spike or something from Transformers G1, then like, how would you do that?
Maybe, or like it doesn't even necessarily have to be he's there the whole time, but maybe if you just in that opening scene we saw Bumblebee and Starscream pass by like someone who's just chilling in the desert for whatever reason, and they used forced perspective to make the car look like it was, actual sized car as it passed them, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
That might have helped. And that way you wouldn't have to integrate a person throughout the rest of the episode. I don't know, like, yeah, for me the effects are the best part. I really like the mouth movements from all the Autobots and Decepticons. I think those look really, really good.
yeah.
And once again, it's weird because I think it looks better than the costumes do. Like, for some reason, the mouth, even though it's the one thing that's not there on screen, looks more real than the costumes that the actors are wearing.
Mm-hmm.
I was impressed to see just the level of detail they put into a lot of these costumes, and I mean, it works as far as just looking fairly good. It doesn't work in that the combat looks really lame.
Yeah, it's a weird thing because like these look pretty much exactly like the Transformers do in G1. They're all really blocky and strange. Like this is pretty much how everything looks in G1. It's really blocky like this, and yeah, that is just like the caveat you have because it's like, oh, they're not gonna have like amazing fighting because they're in these big blocky suits. But then again, like that's not so much of an issue for me because outside of like the Transformers movie, there's not like great animation for them fighting either. So
Well, I didn't in the show. Correct me if I'm wrong. Weren't they mostly shooting lasers at each other?
they shoot lasers. Optimus Prime has a like lightsaber axe, and Megatron has like a lightsaber mace, and they fight with those.
See, I think that would have worked better to use if they just were shooting lasers as opposed to trying to do, punches and stuff here and there.
Yeah.
Like there's that section where they're going in and like it's all night vision, first person perspective stuff. And that looked all right. I thought it was a clever way to get around the combat. But I realized in them doing that they lost a lot of what I assume was their budget, because that's where most of the fighting between different Transformers takes place, and you get to the credits and you see all these people in their Transformers costumes. I'm like, wait, there were that many of them? What? I guess those guys were on screen for like half a second as they got like hit, and at that point I'm like, you really didn't need to do a full costume for that. You could have just skipped that scene.
Yeah, it was. I think there were 4 Decepticons and 4 Autobots because there was Starscream, Thundercracker, Shockwave, and Megatron, and there was Optimus, Wheeljack, Ratchet. They showed Ironhide, Bumblebee, maybe one other. I'm not sure, but yeah, yeah, it was probably a weird thing because Thundercracker and Starscream are literally the exact same character design, except Thundercracker is purple where Starscream is red.
Mm-hmm.
So they look the exact same.
Gotcha. I don't know, like, I don't want to sound too negative. It's just I'm only thinking of negatives because the stuff I enjoyed is, like, the effects look really, really good. The digital effects are integrated really, really well. And I got a laugh out of one or two of the jokes. Do you feel like this took itself too seriously?
No, I don't think so because, because it comes down to intent, right? So it's like what they're trying to do is just like encapsulate G1 in a like fan film live action thing. So G1 is just like G1 is by no means like great in terms of like storytelling at all. So it's just kind of like charming because all the Autobots and the Decepticons, they have like their like one trait about them that's funny. They have their voice and the way that they always speak. Like Optimus Prime, everything he says is like a leader's line. Megatron, everything he says is evil. Starscream is like this big, like I'm a badass, but then he's actually a total coward. I don't know. Like they did a good job of just making it feel like literally if you transform this into animation that it could be an episode of G1.
And that's pretty good then. Like I say, I just never watched that, so I don't have much interest in it, generally speaking. If it's a faithful adaptation of the cartoon, that's a good job on their part. But for someone that's not a fan of the cartoon approaching this, it's like, oh, those are some cool effects with the miniatures and costumes that. Like, it's weird because I don't know. I wouldn't expect the effects to be this good, considering the quality of the rest of it. And it's not a dig at the quality of the rest of it. The acting, voice acting stuff, it's all good to serviceable for me. I just I would expect the effects to look a little bit more simplistic and maybe not as well integrated as they are, but I think they are really well done. What else can we talk about with this then? Because I don't want to tap out yet, but I'm getting close to not having anything that I can think of to bring up. You got anything?
I'll just talk about Starscream for a second. So, in like the first opening scene with Starscream, it was really cool because the voice actor sounded a lot like Starscream, and then also the thing is, and they did. So we mentioned in the X-Men fan series review that I made a joke about like the guy with screaming powers. You can hear him scream. Yeah, so when he does his screaming power, he pretty much you can tell that they recorded the audio for him screaming. And when they recorded it, they were probably in like a house or something where like didn't want to have to hear someone scream. So he was like trying to be quiet. So like the sound of his scream is like and then they put like a filter on that. So it just sounds like a guy very calmly going, ah, with like a weird filter on it to make it seem like he's screaming loud.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like the guy who was playing Starscream, and for the most part all the voice acting, like you can tell that like however they recorded it, like they were in a room or a place where they could just fully voice act. So like there's like Starscream has his cowardly screams where he's like, ah, and stuff like that. That's really awesome.
Yeah, I thought the voice acting was really well done. It was smart. Like the filters put on it were good. The it was crisp. It didn't like have a bunch of interference because people sometimes use shoddy mics. But no, it didn't have any interference or anything. I could clearly hear everything that was being said. Yeah, I'd agree. I quite liked a lot of the stuff they did with the voice acting here. What else? The Starscream, that scream you were talking about, and just the general the tones of the voice actors, the way they're talking about things. I do agree. It's believable, and if they're doing something that's trying to impersonate a previous performance, that's pretty good too then.
Yeah. The thing Optimus was also pretty good because the thing about Optimus is that like Peter Cullen, that's such a hard voice to like get like Autobots roll out. Like that's really hard to do. So like the guy that they got, he sounded just enough like Optimus Prime to where like if you heard him, you were clearly thinking like, oh, that's the voice of Optimus Prime, without it necessarily having to sound exactly like him. And the important thing was they got like certain line deliveries right, that like Optimus says like specific things a specific way. So like every time Optimus ever says Megatron, he never just says it like Megatron. There's only one way that he can express his distaste for Megatron when saying his name, and it's to say it like Megatron. It's like that and everything. It's so funny.
Okay. That's cool. I think my ultimate come down on this would probably end up being it's good, it's just not for me.
Yeah.
And like that sounds shittier than it needs to, but that's just generally how I'm feeling about this. Like everything you're telling me, I could see if I were a fan of it, I'd be like, yeah, that's cool, that sounds awesome. But I'm not, so I'm not. Like there are subtleties that you're noticing that I'm not picking up on because I'm just like, yes, that is a competent voice actor as far as I'm concerned. I'm not blown away by the voice actor because I don't know what the particulars that they're doing are.
Yeah.
And there are no like glaring huge issues. The miniatures don't look great to scale. I think the paint's a little shoddy on them, but they don't look like awful. It doesn't look like they put a Hot Wheels there and, you know, they're not driving past plants that like clearly are just, you know, normal sized plants. They were pretty careful and they crafted it just enough so that while I'm not sold on them not being miniatures, it does look fairly good. For a low budget fan film, that does look pretty good. There's nothing like wholly bad about it. The effects are the best part of this for me. The story, it exists. Like what can we really say about the story? It's just okay. Megatron has a plan to harness the energy of the Earth's core, and apparently just use it to kill Optimus Prime. And then Starscream takes over, and Bumblebee dies. Like there's not a lot going on in this, story wise, and that's fine. It's a story that is there, but it's not like a laughably bad or silly story. The performances work, but I don't think they're like, you know, amazing. At least not to me, because I don't know what they're trying to get at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can
you tell a story really quick about?
Go for it.
All right, so. When I was little, I used to, so like my grandma has this like, she used to live in this really giant house that was like really, really big. We don't live, like my grandma doesn't live there anymore because it was just such a big house. It was kind of pointless to have such a large house. So, but when I used to stay there, sometimes when I was a little kid on like the weekends, I would like spend the weekend at my grandma's house, and I would go up to this one room where she had like put a bunch of old like action figures and toys and stuff from when my uncle and my dad were kids, and it's just like stuff that they never, because my uncle, he sold a lot of his stuff, so anything that he didn't sell he pretty much gave to me, but there was still stuff up in this room. And so I went up into this room when I was a kid, and I would look through like these boxes of stuff, and one of the boxes had this like metal like jet, and it looked exactly like the Starscream's jet does in this fan film, right? And I'm looking at it, and so when later on after that, so like that was when I was really young, and then later on when I was in like late years of elementary school, I really had this like kind of like obsession with the actual G1 Transformers action figures, because they're really cool. Like they're really like blocky, and they don't have like any articulation. Like they have a little bit of articulation, but they don't have a lot. But what's cool about them is they're just really heavy and metal, and they like transform in like 1 to 2 things really, and they're just cool. And they've got like they just got like really cool metal chunks and stuff, and they're heavy, and they just feel awesome. So Starscream is my favorite Transformer, and when I was a kid, I had this. What I didn't know was a G1 Starscream. And I didn't know that that's what it was. And so, like, as a kid, Starscream was my favorite, and I literally had the G1 Starscream, and I didn't know how to transform it because at that time when I was a kid, like, all the Transformers that were out for the generation of the show that was out when I was a kid, they were all, like, way more complicated, and, like, it was very obviously, oh, this is a Transformer. But this was such a, like, big, heavy metal jet that I didn't realize that it was actually a Trans-fucking-former. And then I don't know whatever happened to it, because I just, like, never thought twice about it. And then, like, it took forever before I realized that that's what it was later on in my life, remembering back to that.
That sucks.
Yeah.
That was probably worth something, and you just probably gave it away to a Goodwill.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah. Oh well. If you ever find a Turbo Man doll from the movie Jingle All the Way, and it's in the original package, that shit is worth so much money.
Really?
Yes. It's ridiculous. We've sold one at my work for like $200. It's like, why? It's a fucking joke action figure from a shitty Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. why is that worth anything? Anyway, yeah, regardless of toy rants, I guess maybe that's my thing with Transformers, though, is I just never really think, like, it always seems kind of counterintuitive or backward to try to take a toy and turn it into a property.
Mm-hmm.
Like, try to make a story out of a toy as opposed to vice versa. Because it makes perfect sense to have a story with really cool characters and really neat ideas and to make toys out of that. It always seems really counterintuitive to go the other way, where to make toys out of, or to make characters out of pre-existing toys.
Mm-hmm.
And I know He-Man did the same thing, and I'm pretty sure Thundercats did as well. And so maybe that's always been my... Ninja Turtles was a comic before it was anything else. It was a pre-existing property, but eventually Ninja Turtles started to go that way, where they would create toys and make them characters in the show.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's just my thing with Transformers, is I just don't think it's, like... It's just not great to me. And I don't know, maybe that bothers me about it or something.
Yeah, but what's cool about it, though, is that, like, you get certain things that you could have only gotten if it was first a toy and then a show. So, like, and it's like a charming thing that makes no sense. So, like, Megatron transforms into a handgun in G1 Transformers. Like, he's a giant robot, and then he transforms and shrinks down to the size of a gun that would fit in one of the Decepticons' hands, and then they would shoot Megatron. Makes no sense, but you'd only get that because Megatron's Transformer was a Transformer that turned into a gun.
That's interesting. And yeah, like there's, see, stuff like that, it's lost on me though, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's just not my thing. Everyone's got their thing, this isn't it for me. You got anything else, or do you want to go ahead and move on to ratings?
Oh, we can go to ratings.
Okay. I guess I'll give this a 3 out of 5. Poorly painted headlights. And it's like, it sounds more negative. It's just, I don't care. It's not my thing, so I'm not going to be able to care about it. And I can totally understand if you score this higher than I do. But for me, it's just, I have no investment in it, and it doesn't do enough on its own to make me care from an outside perspective.
Yeah. I'm going to give this 4 out of 5. Starscream out of 5.
Okay, then. Thanks, because I have headphones on right now. You ass. Just really thanks for that. And everyone else listening that has headphones on, I'm sure greatly appreciated that, Rasco.
This is for them.
You're just the best. Yeah, that's fair, and that's a pretty good summation. So speaking of things that you don't care about, or that I don't care about, and so reversing that to things that you don't care about, you know what we're going to talk about next time?
Oh, what?
Jeez. Well, goddamn, with that attitude, nothing. No, next time we're going to talk about something that'll be kind of unique for us because it's our first fan adaptation as opposed to original story. We're going to talk about a Sandman fan film.
Oh, really?
Yeah, let me see if I can find the title of it, because I should have done that a minute ago.
Wait, you mean Sandman or Sandman from Spider-Man?
Sandman Neil Gaiman.
Okay, alright.
Now I find a bunch of them, but it was on Vimeo. God damn it. Videos directly. The Sandman. Of course this happens. Okay, the Sandman Fear of Falling. It's on Vimeo. It's 8 minutes long. We're gonna talk about that.
Like, cool.
Yeah, should be fun. Only 2 months old, so Should be a fun time. All right, everyone. Thanks very much for watching. Sorry this was a shorter episode, but just I didn't have very many impassioned opinions about this one. Hope you understand. Anyway, everyone. Until next time. I'm the philosopher,
And I'm Rasco's Modern Life.
and we are your geeky gentlemen, and we will be discussing things.